guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we're in a Silverado again, and today's another one of those drive, sell some parts, and go work on the car. Kind of one of those, but as you guys can see, we're about 30 miles outside of where we're going, and going up to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. If you guys can see behind me, got a whole bunch of foam, leather, and I think you guys could probably see a C6 Corvette logo. So what those are actually the seat covers and foam from my C6 seats. You guys might remember a real long time ago I did the 2012 seat conversion, and actually I did that conversion before I even started my YouTube channel. That was 3 houses ago. That's how long ago I did that project. So but yeah, so finally what we're doing is I'm basically parting out my seats, because I'm going to keep the electronics, the motors, and the electrical wiring out of my seats, the C6 seats, and potentially put that on the C7 seats. I just don't know yet, because right now, you know, I bought the conversion harnesses from Vetteworks, and I got one of the seat coolers working. I never wired up the second seat, so I know how to get that working. It's just the problem is that the memory recall function, that won't work. The easy exit button you press, that doesn't work anymore. My seat heaters don't work, and there's just a bunch of compromises that we're kind of dealing with by just doing a plug and play harness. And later down the road, what I might do is take all the electronics. Now I'm not saying the motors and stuff, because I think the C7 stuff is specific, but kind of cut all of the wire leads off all of the C7 parts and kind of splice in my C6 stuff. I know that's pretty much how other guys have done it. You basically use the wiring from the C6 seat, but you use the hardware and the motors and everything from the C7 seat. You kind of integrate the two, because honestly guys, a motor's a motor. As long as you got the power and ground wired properly, it should work. So you want to move the seat forward, press a button. So you kind of have to figure out the wiring. That's what we'll have to do if we go down this route. But so that's why I'm kind of parting out my seats, gonna get rid of the foams, like I said, and then keep everything for a later project. And I'm actually gonna toss out my seat frames. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but honestly guys, the seat frames are not worth much, and both of my seats rock pretty bad. If you guys know the C6 seats, that's kind of what they do. There's these little plastic gears inside the seat rails that like to wear out, and yeah, so they like to fail, and so both my seats rock, and I'm not taking the time to rebuild that seat since we already got this much more sturdy C7 frame. So we've got just about 28 minutes left. We'll go drop these off and get back to the house. All right guys, we're headed home, and as you can see, the back seat's empty. So we've gotten the seats unloaded and we sold that stuff. And the guy actually had a C6 with a carbon fiber target top. You guys will have just recently seen that video, and I saw that, I'm like, there's no way. So I think one of the previous owners of his car actually bought a skin and had it attached to the factory top, kind of like mine is. So it's just kind of interesting. I had never seen one of those target top in carbon fiber before. Now I've seen 2 in a week, so that's kind of crazy. But this might look like a bit of a Frankenstein. So basically what I've been doing is actually taking apart the passenger side seat from the original C6, because I currently have the C7 seats in the Corvette. They're just sitting there, nothing's plugged in, nothing moves. So we need to fix that, because I can't get in the car with that seat where it's stuck. So what I've been working on is the passenger side, just because it's kind of the easier side. Well, actually, it's kind of a little bit more difficult. I'll get to that in a second. But basically, the instructions I got from Vetteworks a real long time ago, honestly guys, they're pretty vague, and they're not explanatory at all. You're basically going to disassemble the bottom of your seat and take the seat harness out of it. I wasn't aware that we need to do that with the passenger side, but it makes sense. Dan kind of mentioned that you're going to have to use parts of it, but I didn't know you have to use the whole thing. So what I did was I basically cut every zip tie, unplugged, and labeled everything, and got the seat harness out. So I got the little controller, I got the factory floor connection, and if you guys can see here, this is the passenger side adapter harness. This will go to the C7 seat, and this actually plugs into the position, what I label that as, position switch. So actually, this plugs into where the switch is on the side of the seat. Wasn't aware of that. It's kind of a weird design, but I guess it makes sense because it's the only spot where the C7 adapter will plug in. So everything else, I just kind of, you know, like I said, I unplugged and labeled. So lumbar support, so that's the switch. Here's the lumbar pump. Here's the front back motor, so that's actually this one that will move the seat front and back. I left the computer plugged in because I'm just not sure if we're going to need that. And pretty much everything else is just, you know, you got your heat upper, you got your heat lower. We may use that in the future. So the passenger side for the C7 swap it's almost harder, it's almost easier. It's kind of weird. I will say this, it will be easier to integrate the heated and lower seating elements because, as you guys just saw, we have the controls through here. And since we're still using the factory floor connection, all that wiring for the upper and lower seat heating elements should be there. So I think if all we do is chop the, you know, these pigtails off, swap them for the C7 side, I think we can get that working pretty easily. Now, I'm not going to do that in this video because I just want to get the seats in, working, and everything working. So the two things we got from Dan were this little adapter, this little jumper harness for the seat. Like I said, that plugs into the seat position switch. And the other were two little connectors. One's for the airbag simulator because, as you guys know, we've got a roll cage, and I've deleted the C7 airbag. So you guys could see there's a, looks like the airbag plug, but actually what I did was I disconnected the factory C6 plug because I didn't know this plug splits in half. So I basically connected Dan's simulator to the C6 side of the seatbelt tensioner because Dan did mention that we will have to use that. And so when we go to put this in the car, all we'll have to do is plug this in under the seat. We'll swap this tensioner out for the C7 tensioner. And I think we should be good to go because we're basically not going to use any of the C7 electronics except for the movement. Oh, and there's one more adapter. It's actually buried in this harness. You guys will see this plug right here. If you guys can read, this is the seat location sensor. That basically tells the seat where it's located, you know, back and forth, up, down, whatever. But this little adapter right here, that basically will be a simulator. So I think this will help prevent any error codes in the driver's information center. All right, guys, as you can see, we have the passenger seat out of the Corvette. Like I said earlier, I just kind of stuffed it in the car, but as you guys can see, we do have the C6 harness right here that'll plug into the floor pan. We have the airbag and the belt pretensioner. That's right here. And as you guys can see, this is the C6 pretensioner. I just bolted to the side. Now, I did have these BonecrrusherSS safety harness mounts, and that's what gave me this bolt that allowed me to bolt this on. I might have to get a longer bolt if I do plan on integrating the safety harness mount, but we'll come back to that. So got that bolted on. That's all tightened down. I ran the wiring for that kind of back behind through the seat. This will go to the floor on the bottom. The C6 harness, I plugged the C7 adapter up front, and as you guys can see, I kind of just ran it up front underneath. And then I kind of just snaked the harness through the bottom of the seat, and you guys will see that this is the kind of computer box that was underneath the passenger side seat. I put that there. The heated seat elements, I kind of just pushed in the back here. They're buried. And I kind of just tucked everything as close to the seat as I could, and I did zip tie it here, and I did zip tie it to the front here, if you guys can see that zip tie. So everything is pretty level and flat. Nothing's hanging down too bad. And our wiring, I think we should be good. So, you know, we'll go put this in the car and make sure we're good. But yeah, I think we're pretty much good. So kind of like I said, I just kind of tucked and hid everything that was the C6 seat harness into the bottom of the C7 seat. So, all right, guys, we got the passenger side fully installed. Everything works. You can see the seat does move forward. It moves back. Moves up, down. So back works. Pretty much everything works that I've found. The lumbar support works, which I'm pleasantly surprised. I wasn't sure if that was going to work. And then, kind of like I said, I did currently take the BonecrrusherSS mounts off just for now. Obviously, we're gonna have to come back in here and do this later, but like I said, I just want the seats in the car. So I took the C6 belt tensioner as well as the passenger side, both sides of it, screwed it in. It's a 16mm bolt, bolted it to the passenger side, bolted it to the outside, and we're good to go. And so this is the C6 seat belt. We bolted to the side, like I said, comes out the pillar, down and into the seat belt buckle, and we're good to go. Okay guys, here is the driver's side seat. Kind of the same thing that we're gonna do with this one, but this one, all we gotta do is plug in the jumper harness up front. We gotta plug in our seatbelt harness from the C6. And guys, I think that should be it. So we take the brake cross mounts off kind of like we did on the passenger side. We're gonna bolt in the C6 seatbelt, buckle, tensioner, all that. Bolt that here. We're gonna take off the strap of the seatbelt, the C7 part on the outside of the seat. Plug that adapter harness in like we said, and guys, we should be good to go. We got our C6 airbag simulator, we got the C6 seatbelt plug plugged in, we've got this bolted down, so that's good to go. We've got the C6 to C7 adapter here, and yes, you guys will see our seat cooler adapter, but like I said, we're not gonna be messing with that today. And actually, guys, this seat, I have not even done that swap on, so that's gonna be for a later project down the road. Over here on the outer part of the seat, I'm gonna have to remove this seat belt tensioner. So that's gonna be a 16mm bolt. I'm gonna remove the brake cross piece, like I said, and I've got a bolt back here. It is a T20, and that will take off the cover so that we can get to the seat belt access. All right, guys, we got the seat belt, well, the chunk of seat belt that was left, as well as that little tensioner on the outside of the seat removed. That was a 16mm bolt. All right, guys, as we just showed on the passenger side, the driver's side is fully done as well. We got the seat belt from the C6 fully integrated on both sides. So I bolted it on the outer side. We already showed you we bolted on the inner side. Got the airbag simulator plugged in. We got the tensioner, everything from the C6 swapped over to the C7. So I fired up the car. We have no airbag lights, nothing like that is displaying. The seatbelt lights turn off, the airbag lights turn off. So no warnings on the dashboard at all, so that's pretty sweet. And yeah, so we now finally have the C7 seats actually installed in the car permanently. And there you go, we finally have the C7 seats in the C6, and kind of as I said earlier in the video, that's a permanent install. Everything we do from now on will just be the heated seat integration as well as the vented seats. We showed you a video a real long time ago about the vented seats. That should work without issue. The heated seats on the passenger seat should be pretty simple. I think all I have to do, like I said, is swap the plugs. Basically cut the C6 plugs off, solder in the C7 plugs, and we should be good to go. And so yeah, I mean, seat heater elements shouldn't be too difficult. Supply at 12 volts, tell it to turn on, and that should work. So I believe using the C6 harness on the passenger side, sending the command through the dashboard, through the BCM up into the seat, and then the seat will just fire on the seat heaters. That should work really well. The seat cooler on the driver's side is not started at all. I actually have the harness kind of modified, but I need to check the grounds and power on the C6 side, because when I did that, I think I was given later model information, so like 2010. I want to say that's different than the 2005. So, but yeah, that is the full seat install for the C6 to C7 conversion. I did the comp seat conversion. We've done the cooling conversion. The last thing we need to integrate is the memory on the driver's side as well as the seat heater. Those are kind of like my last two goals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically take the seat harness out of the C6 and see if we can integrate that into the C7. I'm just not sure how much we're going to have to do. I kind of like how we did it on the passenger side, where we just kind of bypassed all the C6 and C7 stuff and use a little bit of C6 harness and a little bit of the C7 harness. And that should get it to work. The driver's side will be a little more complicated, like I was saying. So if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more Corvette content, hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. And if you guys want to help support the channel, check out the links down below. I have a link down to Vetteworks, some of the tools that we use. Also check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. Any contributions you guys make there go right back into the car, the truck, the shop, any of that stuff. So thanks guys. Have a great one.